Yo, 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 my name is Oscar. This is gonna be my first video of me learning code from scratch. Yeah, this is gonna be my my main way of documenting and journaling my progress as a software engineer. I'm starting my university in about 3 days. And yeah, this is gonna be basically a daily routine for me. Where I try to do projects. After a while, I'll probably start doing lead code. However, I don't feel like I'm good enough for that yet. And yeah, I'm basically just learning the fundamentals. I don't expect people to actually watch this. This is purely for myself. However, if there is someone watching and you got any tips or anything you want to say, feel free to comment it in the comment section. I take all the tips. I love criticism, so yeah, feel free to do that if you're actually watching. But yeah, this is purely for myself. I'm gonna try to talk like there is an audience, even though it's purely for myself. I believe that talking and expressing what you think is a very good way of learning. So yeah, I'm probably gonna try to talk as much as possible along the way as I am coding. I am going to use a lot of I'm going to use a lot of AI in the start, just because there's so much I don't know yet. There's so much I need to learn, but I'm going to try to use AI in a very educational way. I'm going to try to understand step by step how the AI gives me the code, right? And the project here is to learn as much as possible. It's not actually to make the project, right? But yeah, I'm really excited to do this. I've actually made a plan for a project already. I made a bunch of plans, but basically the plan and the project I want to work with is a game. I've always been really bad at geography, but like countries and flags and names and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to make a game to make it easy for me to actually learn those type of stuff. So basically how it works is that you get like a flag in front of you and then you guess the flag, the name of the country, right? And if you're wrong, you get one letter. And if you guess then, you get a little less points. So you get points based on how many hints you need, basically. So if you can guess the country without any hints, then you get 10 points. However, if you need the first letter of the name, you get 5 points. And then if you need 2, you get 3, and if you need 3 letters, you get 1 point. And if you can't do it with 3 letters, you don't get anything, right? These values, that's basically just like the idea. It's not gonna be like that probably when I'm actually finishing the game. I have no idea if those values are actually a good way to do this. But yeah, that's the idea. And also I want to have different modes. I want it to be harder difficulties for different modes, where you, instead of getting the country flag, you actually get maybe the shape of the country, right? Maybe you get the population of the country, the capital, or the language. I also want the game to be able to only have certain continents as like only countries from certain continents, right? Which is also going to be editable. And I also want at the end of each game to have kind of like a database or a way to sort the data so that players can see how they did compared to older tries or older scores, right? I want to make a graph of that. Yeah, this is very complicated and I have no idea how to do this. So basically what I decide to do is just make a first goal plan, which is like the simplest of the simple, which is basically just, I want to make a list of all the countries, store all the flags, players gets a flag, submits a answer, code checks if it's correct or not, and then the player gets notified if it's correct or not, right? Before he gets a new flag, and then it repeats. So it's a very simple, no points, no difficulties, and also no hints, right? So it's a very simple way of the code. And then after I've managed to do that and understand that code, I want to move on to the more difficult parts. I'm also listing all YouTube videos that I'm trying to trying to learn from. I'm going to list them here, but I'm not going to show that probably on the recordings. This is something I will do off. So yeah, I think that's pretty much done. I've already started, as you can see. I made this kind of list here of the steps I want to do. I want to sort all the country names and the country flags. I got this from someone online that literally just made or just had a JSON file with all the names, code for each country, which is like I never knew this, but this is like a code that is like well known. I don't really understand. Like, I think every country just have like a code name. I never knew that, but I'm pretty sure that's actually the case. And then obviously the picture of the flag, and then I got some extra, which is like the dial code for the phone number, and actually even the phone number length. I'm not going to use that probably, but it's just nice to have in case I want to edit something later. And there's a lot of countries here, but yeah, for now, these two steps are already done. So now I'm going to try to make a player get a picture of each flag and then actually try to submit an answer, right? And I've been focusing a lot on this fetch code, which is a way to get information from a JSON file and actually display it on a website, right, through JavaScript and HTML. And I've tried really hard to understand this. It's really hard to understand this like deeply, but I think in a very simple way of understanding it, it takes the JSON data and makes a response that it gives out. So it gives out all the data, and then it yeah, as you can probably tell, I can't really explain this very well, but basically here it gives a response to the data that the fetch function got, and then it gives us each object from that array, because this is a JSON array. And we can use we can make code inside of this data. Yeah, and this dot catch is basically just catching all the errors in case this doesn't work and I get an error on the console. This will then tell us what error that is. And tell us error loading JSON and then the error that we got. So yeah, as you can tell, like, this is really hard for me to understand. I can't understand it completely, but it's the best for now, and then hopefully I'll get it after a while. All right. I've also made functions down here. I'm not even sure if I'm going to use these functions, but this is kind of just a way for me to picture out how this is going to work. Because I first want to have a function that gives the player a flag, then a function that submits the answer, and then check if it's true, notify the player, and the main where I'm going to like nest all these together. I'm not sure if this is going to be the way I'm actually coding this. I'm using ChatGPT a lot now, step by step, to kind of make this code. So it will probably not use any of these functions at all. But yeah, that's kind of like what I pictured in my head, at least for now. So yeah. So I've made this fetch code with ChatGPT already, and it's kind of going step by step through the whole thing here. Let's see where I ended up being. Converts the response to actual JavaScript objects, and this is where like so hard for me to understand what the actual response is. Like converts the response. Like I don't know what the response even is, right? Which is why it's hard for me to understand. Is this the code I have? I think it should be the exact code I have. Let's do this. Maybe it's easier. Let's see if I can actually do this, and then this, and then this, and then I don't even need to see this, actually. I don't think I need to see this. Yeah, I think I can just do this. It's easier for now. And the console log will just log out in the console what is actually happening. So it's so we can see if it's working or not. Make sure you have countries.json file with structured above. Do we have that? Yes, we do. Script.js file with the fetch code above, a basic HTML file that loads the script. And I already fixed that. I have this like baseline HTML code right here, and I just made this right here, which is a way for the HTML file to take the data from the source from the JSON file, right? So that's where we are right now. And then this is working. However, I don't fully understand what the then response does. Can you elaborate? Let's see if we can understand this better before moving on. I really want to understand as much as possible before moving on to the next thing. However, this is something I struggled with multiple times because I've watched videos about it too, and it's hard for me to understand. These was promises. A built-in JavaScript without blocking the rest of the code. And this is something they called an asynchronous code, I think, which is like it. Fetch the file. When it's finished, run this function. Response. What is response? When you fetch response object. Okay, so this function returns a response object, but it's not the JSON data. So here, the response object gets the JSON data, I'm guessing, yeah. Take the raw response and convert it into real JavaScript objects, usually an array or object, parsed from JSON. Parsed, I've learned, means that it goes from a string object to a to actual objects, like actual data. The result of responsive JSON is another promise, which is why we chain a second then. I don't know what a promise means, by the way. Second then gets the parsed data. Okay, that does make sense though. Now, like, this is where I'm starting to understand what's going on, but like, array of countries, that makes sense. You can loop through it, display it, etc. So this is where we will make the code that is interacting with the array, which is the data that the response returns to us. That's the best way of me understanding this so far. But I don't think I understand anything. I'll understand anything better. I can ask, what is a promise? Promise. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Suddenly make more sense. What is a promise in JavaScript? A promise is, I don't know why it's so slow, by the way. My internet is really fast, so I don't know why it's this slow. Place the order. The promise is created. You wait for the food. The promise is pending. The food arrives. The promise is fulfilled. Okay. It's a good analogy, I guess. Const promise, new promise, resolve, reject. That time out. Const success equals true. If success, resolve, food, else reject. This creates a promise that waits 2 seconds and then either resolves success or rejects. That's a failure. Promises let you chain steps and keep your code cleaner. Okay, I guess that's the best way for me to understand this. Again, I don't feel like this is, like, I don't feel like I understand this fully, but I think this is the furthest we will go. right now. So I'll just continue with the project. All right, let's continue with the project from step 2. Step 3, display the first country's name and flag. And by the way, if you're not following, we're trying to make it so that the code displays a flag, and then the player can press next for the next flag to pop up. And that's like a very simple way of going through each flag. And I want to understand that before I start actually making a code that says you need to guess the flag's name and then you're allowed to move on. That's basically why I'm doing this first. So now we're adding code inside the data, the data which is talking, or yeah, I will just say talking with the array of objects that is in our JSON file. Country SQL data const. So we're defining a name element, which is why would we do that? Flag element, document body, append child. So we're defining an element for the image, and we're defining a element for the name, which is h2, which is the HTML way of displaying like a header or like a subheader. And this is adding those elements into the HTML body, I'm pretty sure. That's what the append child means, and body.append child means. Function show country, function show a country by index. So it's using a function by the index of the object, of the array of objects. So it's defining. So each country equals the index of the country. So if we look at our JSON file, that would mean, can I not scroll faster here? Bro, how do I? Let's just do this to scroll faster, actually. So this would be the index 0, right? And then this will be index 1, index 2. So if the country is index 0, it will be Taliban. So country would be Taliban. And if it would be 1, it would be Olan. So name element dot text content equals country dot name. So it's using this what would I call this variable dot text content. I'm actually not sure what that means, but I understand what this means, which is the key for the name of each object. So the key, which if the index would be 0, would be Taliban, and then this variable would equal to that name, which would be Taliban. I think that's basically what it's doing. If I'm guessing, flag element dot src equals country dot flag. So this would be the picture of the flag, right? So the country, if it was Taliban, would get like this src dot src, and the flag element would be equals to the link right here, which is a flag of the country. And then this will be an alt, which is basically if we don't actually manage to retrieve that data, or if something happens so that we actually don't get that data for that flag, we will get an alt, which is basically just a text. So yeah, let's show country, show the first country. Okay, so this is the function, and then the index is 0, so this would be for Taliban, right? Let's read through it to understand a bit better though, if it's possible. We create an h2 element for the country name and an image element for the flag. Yeah, that makes sense to me. This already makes sense to me. Obviously the syntax is a bit weird, like I just got to get used to the syntax, I think. we add those to the page so that they become visible. That's a very loose way of explaining it, in my opinion, but I'm guessing it's this one, right? Like it appends the name element and the flag element to the body of the HTML code. That's what this means. Show country.index updates the contents based on the country at the given index. Yeah, that's basically what you said. It gives us an index, and when we call for that index, it gives us that flag. So now when we call for this function, when we actually make this function, hopefully we should have a name in an H2 element of the country and the flag of the country. So all of this makes sense to me. I think this is very simple code, actually. Simple enough for me to actually understand. Where did it want me? It was here, no? Pretty sure it wants me here. Block after set countries equal data. Okay, so it's actually right here, right? So I'm gonna write all this manually just because I feel like that's better better for my learning. So I'm gonna do that. And I also need to get better at typing. Like I'm not the best at typing code yet. Like I feel like I'm pretty slow. So I want to get better at that as well, right? Flag element equal document dot create element image. This all makes sense to me. Also, I'm pretty sure we don't actually need this syntax right here. I think this is just like in different, or maybe we do. I'm not even sure. Document dot body dot append child dot name element. Here we go. Document body append child, and then the flag element, right? I'm actually gonna use this as well, just because if I later need to read throughout the code, it's easier for me to understand, right? Show name and flag. And then here I will have add them to the page. Function to show a country by index. And then we will write the function and we will define the function. So this is basically this function right here, which is funnily enough, I made this function already. So let's actually use this name just because it's more fun for me. I want to have it. I just need to remember the function name is different then. Give player flag. And then obviously I gotta get the index too. As an, I think it's called a, what's it called? Parameter. Const country equals countries, and then countries, and then the index, right? There we go. Index name element dot text content equals country dot name. Flag element dot sft equals country, equals country flag, and flag element dot alt equals country dot name plus flag, right? The space here is just for it to look a bit better if the flag name actually gets in, goes into the console, right? Show first countries. So then I need to call for the actual function, which is, I'm not gonna use that. I want to do this. I don't know why it's in this color. I don't know if that's a bad thing or it doesn't matter, or if it's just like it looks worse. And also I don't know why this is in, because I wrote it weirdly. Now it should be fixed. Nice. And actually, just because I don't want to think about that, I'm just gonna do the exact same. Actually, fuck it. I don't care that much. So country, and then the index we want is 0 for this one time. But I'm not sure how we're gonna actually get different kinds of countries if it's defined by not a variable but a actual index number. Now it won't go through unless we change this variable, right? Which is not a variable. This is actually just a number at this point. So that's check the first flag appear on the page. When you're ready, say, and we'll continue with step 4. So I'm guessing the step 4 will be actually changing this to a variable. Oops, I don't even know how I did that. Wait, you can do that? You can drag it like that? That's crazy. I never knew, actually. Let's see. I'm using live server for this. As you can see here, we got the name of the country and the flag of the country. This is a very weird flag for Taliban. It's not even a country, right? Is Taliban a country? Taliban. I thought it was like a... Let's not use that. Taliban, which also... Fuck this shit, bro. Taliban is state name, Islamic Emirates of Afghanistan. Islamic Emirates, political militant movement with an ideology, compromise elements of... Yeah, so it's not actually a country. It's just a community or a state name, which is oops. Actually, I don't need this. I can just do that for it to be more clean, actually. All right. It says debate game because I have it here. That's because I started different. Like I also made this discussion game, which like I just copy paste from ChatGPT basically. So I'm actually gonna change this to guess country, and when I press Control S, it should be perfect. Nice. All right, let's continue on with our file here. So until now, I feel like I understand, like I would say 80 to 90% of the code. Again, this is this part of the fetch is kind of hard for me to understand and comprehend. But other than that, I think we're pretty much good. And also, it's just very easy to remember this stuff, right? Did I just delete ChatGPT or am I stupid? Yeah, I just deleted ChatGPT. So let's actually get that back. And we will... Is this the same? No, it's not. I'll just do this. And then I'll have the other file over on my second monitor over here. Oops. A bit more. Okay. Okay. I'm ready to move on to the next step. I probably didn't need to write that much, but whatever. Add this below your existing code inside the .then data and then into the objects block or the JSON file block right side the show country function. So it's right here, I'm guessing. Let current index equals 0. Okay, so here we actually do have a variable. So we did do that. Look, it did change it, which makes a lot of sense. It creates a button, defines a button, and doc can create elements. Is this like a way to use HTML code inside of JavaScript? Because that's kind of like what I'm feeling, right? Like create an element. Like in HTML, you would just write down the code for that element, right? But here, it doesn't work like that. So I'm guessing this is how it does it in JavaScript. I'm not sure about that though. Next button dot text content equals next country. So next button dot text country. Why does it next button? Why is it not just button? That's weird. Add the button to the page. And also, why is this a string? I'm kind of confused what's happening here. So it's variable for the index, next button, and then it creates a element for the button. Then it defines that the text contents for the next button is next country. So I'm guessing that this kind of like makes an element for a button, and then it puts the text country of this element to next country. That's what I'm picturing right now. I'm not sure if that's correct. And then it appends the next button into the HTML code body, right? Next button dot add event listener. Click and then an arrow function into current index equals, and then it cycles through to the next index. And then this, I don't actually know what it means. Countries.length, that means the length of the country. Increase current index and wrap around if at the end. I don't know what that means. So I have no clue what this actually does. Add a click event listener to the button. Like, what does that even mean? Click event? Like, come on, bro. What? Show the next country. And it calls for the function. What's happening? We create a variable current index to remember which country is currently visible. Oh yeah. Okay. We create a variable. Current index. Yeah, that's easy. That's what we started already. We create a button label next country. I understand that it's creating the button here, but this again, I'm picturing it being like the JavaScript way of using like the button element that is usually made in HTML, right? When the button is clicked, we increase current index by 1. If current index reaches the end of the array, it loops back to 0. Really? I don't see how this is that part of the code. Oh, wait, I think I understand it. Because countries is the name of the JSON file. And in the JSON file, there's no keys that's named country, right? So countries.length would mean the length of the array, not the length of the actual country. So it's the index, and then this, for some reason, means that it goes, it does that until it's reached the end, and then it wraps around. Because that's what it's saying, it's wrapping around if at end. So if it's at the end of the array, it wraps back into the current index, which would be 0. But if that's the case, then it will never be able to do the Talibans. No? If current index is 0, then the code will write out the second country of the array list, no? Or am I tripping? Yeah, I think I need some more clarification here. If current index reaches the end of the array, it loops back to 0. We update the display by calling show country with the current index as a par. Is this called a parameter? It's not, right? That would, a parameter is in a function. So wait, this. No, this is just a variable for the index. Right. I'm stupid. Okay, I need some clarification. First of all, I need clarification on this right here, because I already told you what I think it does. Can you tell me what the create code does? How do you even write does? It's just like that. Const next button, code next country, next click, const next button. This creates a new button element in memory, not on the page yet. So in the RAM, I'm assuming you're not writing it in HTML. You're creating it dynamically using JavaScript. This is what I thought it was. I think this is the same as what I thought it was. A JavaScript way of writing an HTML element, but it's kind of like saved in the in the memory and not actually part of the HTML code, right? Think of it as like crafting a button behind the scenes. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking it. This sets the visible text on the button. That's exactly what I thought as well. That is what I thought as well. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what I thought. So that makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. So when the button shows up, it will say next country. Makes sense. Makes sense. This adds the button to the actual web page inside the body. That's also what I thought. Within this line, the button exists in memory, but you wouldn't see it. Yeah, I mean, it's just saying what is that here, right? It's just the same thing. The wall of your web page. Yeah, that's basically the RAM. I'm thinking of it as the RAM, like the behind the scenes. This tells the browser. Okay, so this is what I don't understand the most. I think click. This tells the browser, hey, when someone clicks this button, run this function. This is called an event listener. You're listening for a click event inside the click event function. Wow, interesting. So the code is actually on my code here. So whenever someone is clicking, then this function is activated. However, how do you call for the click then? Is that just an integrated thing about the button? Is this connected just because there's something integrated in this function here? I'm not completely sure about how it knows when it's clicked. But I'm guessing it's something integrated in the actual element, like the element code itself, behind the scenes. But let's keep reading. So yeah, I'm guessing it's something. Oh wait, it's connected here. Next button, which is the name of the variable, right? Or the button name. An add event listener, which is what tells the program to listen for the click, which is probably something already defined, which is something just integrated in this button. I don't know if integrated is the correct way of saying it, but hopefully you understand. And then this percentage thing is weird as well. But I understand this function now. This is a very nice function, actually. It's actually a nice thing to learn. This increases the current index by 1 each time you click. If percentage countries.length part is modulo, it loops. Modulo, I'm assuming it's at the end, right? It loops back to 0 when you reach the end. Or is modulo. Oh, this is what the percentage thing means. I don't know what this means. Click once, index 1, click again, index 2, click again, index 0. Okay, so now I understand how you actually get to the first country. You don't get to it before you loop through the whole thing, I'm assuming. Or actually it starts there, and then when you click, it goes to the next. So by default, it's 0. Okay, that makes sense. So it doesn't start showing countries when you click. It shows countries instantly, and then the click is just a function to get to the next one. That does make a lot of sense to me. Is this a modulo? Let's search up modulo JavaScript. Yeah, that's this thing. The percentage operators. Some again, so annoying to read from. Refer to the reminder operator, not strictly a modular. While it behaves like a modular for positive numbers, behave with different negative numbers. Returns the remainder of the division of two operands. I have no idea what that means. The sign of the result is the same as the sign of the dividend. Again, no idea what that means. Result is 1. Okay, but why is that during this stream? By the way, this is what I thought it did because I remember this from high school. However, I don't understand how that correlates to the current way of using the modulo. So it's definitely interesting. because the length would be a number. So let's say we have 200 countries, just for simplification. Then it would be the index 1, and then if it does that to 200, like that don't make any sense. You don't get a reminder. Um, yeah. What does 1% to 100 in JavaScript? Doesn't seem like it's gonna tell me that, so let's just ask ChatGPT instead. But first, let's read through them next. This updates the flag and name on the screen by showing the country and index. Create element button makes a new button JavaScript, text content, this is what the button says. Append child adds it to the page. Yeah, makes sense. Add event listener. This is a very interesting one that I'm happy that I've learned. This is actually really nice. Current index moves to the next country. Show country. So this all makes sense to me. Before moving on, I want you to explain the modulo better. The rest of the code was easy to understand. Let's turn to the modulo operator. What's modulo? So here it explains like it did on the web. A is the number you're dividing, B is the number you're dividing by. Current index is so this returns, it loops back to 0 when it reaches the last index. Current index after click. Okay, so this isn't 200. The length doesn't mean the length of the array, which is what I thought it was. It means the, or does it? The length of the array, an index 1 divided by 3. How is that 1? This one reminder? Huh? What? Because 5 divided by 3 is 1 remainder of 2? Remainder. I still don't understand. I feel like this is super simple. I don't know why I don't understand this. 2, so 3 divided by 3 is 0. That does make sense. 2 divided by 3 is 2? Why? Where's the reminder? Like the reminder would be 1/3, right? Because you need one more third to get to 3. Oh, wait, I think I understand. So basically, it can be divided once, right? You have 3. Okay, it's pretty simple. I don't know why it took me so long to understand this. This is super simple math. Just a weird way of doing it. I overthought it a lot. Okay, now I understand. So you have 2, and then you can, if you divide it by 3, So this is the weird thing. Like if you divide by a bigger number, because here it's dividing by a smaller number, so you can fit 3 into 5 once, and then the remainder is 2. But here, if you have 2, you can't fit 3 into 2 a single time. So why is the output 2 then? If you have 1 and you divide by 3, you can get it 0 times. But you need 2 more to get to 3. So 1. Why is it so hard? I still don't understand how you can use modulo when the first number is smaller than the second one. That's the key part of the trip. People, let's slow this down and look at what happens. First number is smaller than the second. First number is smaller than the second number. The remainder is just the first number itself. What? 3 can't go into 2 even once. That's what I said. So there's no division happening. It's just the remainder is 2. How is the remainder 2? Zero divided by 3, you can't put 3 into 0 a single time. So 0 divided by 3 is 0, but so the result is 0? 1 divided by 3 is 3, right? No, I mean, it's not possible. It's a third. So the second number is 3. The result is 1. 3 doesn't fit into 1. Remainder is 1. It's so hard for me to grasp this. I have no clue why it's so hard. It makes sense when the first number is bigger, but 3 doesn't fit into 2. Remainder is 2. Three can't go into 3 and 1. So there's no division happening, and the remainder is 2. Like, why does it say that without an explanation, brother? How is the remainder 2? This one is smaller than 3, remainder is just 1. I mean, I can just remember it. It's easy to remember, however, I don't understand it mathematically. Is it like if it's smaller, then it just doesn't work, and then it gives the 2? Is that what it means? So if the first number is smaller than the second, the modulo doesn't work and just outputs the first number. Exactly. And that's not a failure of the module, it's actually how modulo is defined mathematically. 2 divided by 5. 5 doesn't go into 2 in 1, so nothing gets subtracted, and the remainder is 2. Like, again, it just tells me that, it doesn't explain it. 3 doesn't into 1, so the remainder is 3. Is there a way for me to understand the modulo? The first number is smaller, the second one, other than that it's same number. Because you are saying since nothing gets subtracted, the remainder is 2 without explaining it. Actually, want something deeper and it's just the same number. Let's really peel it apart to see why it happens. Divide a by b. Throw away the whole number part, the quote. Keep only the remainder. A minus b explore a b. What the fuck? Means round down the nearest whole number. Round down the nearest whole number down, so don't round up to 2 by 5. So 2 by 5, that would be 0, yeah? And because 5 doesn't fit once, yeah, multiply b by the whole number, 5x 0, because 0 is subtract from a. Subtract from a? So you subtract 0 from a. Subtract 0 from a. Okay, let's look at this again. So this equals a minus, which is the subtract part. And it's minus the b value times the rounded number of the output of this equation or this division. So when you divide, let's say 2 divided by, yeah, it uses 5, it's 0.4. This thing makes it to 0, which means b times 0. However, let's say that this was bigger than this. Let's say 5, and then this b equals 2. It will be 5 minus 2 times 2 times 1. No, 3. Wait. 5 divided by 2 equals 5 minus 2 times 2, which is 4. So that would make sense. However, this equation is all a bit hard for me to understand. Like I can plot in the numbers and I see that it works, but I'm not sure why. I don't think I can understand this better mathematically when the first number is smaller than the second number. I don't know if that's because I'm stupid or if it's bad at explaining. But yeah, I'm just gonna skip this whole part for now and just accept that when the visual knowledge, you have 2 candidates, each group of 5 candidates. You can't make a full group, 0 groups. Just you have 2 candidates left over. That's your main reminder. If you have 7 candidates with a group of size 5, you make 1 full group, 5 candidates, and you have 2 candidates left over. This makes sense to me. This makes sense because the candidates are bigger than the size of the group. But if you have if you groups hold more candidates than the amount you have, it doesn't make sense to me. Can't make a full group, 0 groups. Sorry for spitting all over the place. I can do this. So 2 and then modulo 5, right? Why does it say each group, right? Is this like here the groups of size 5, but here the each group, it doesn't define the amount of groups. Pulse 5 candies, you can't make a full group. Alright. You just have 2 candies over. That's the reminder. So 2, you can't make a single group, and so the reminder is 2. Okay, so it's kind of like a backward. Okay, I think I understand it then. The visual thingy was very nice, actually. Okay, I think I get it then, actually. So when you have more than the, like if A is bigger than B, then the reminder would be what you have left over after you've tried to get the number B as many times as you can inside of A. So 5 modulo 2 would be 2 can be 2 times in A, and then the leftover is 1. But if this first number is smaller than the second number, then it's how many times can you fit the second number into first number. Again, the same thing. But since it's 0, then you just take what's the reminder, which is 2. Yeah, it makes sense, but it's, I don't know, it is the same thing when I think about it. It's just, you know, I don't know why, but it was so hard for me to, for some reason, make that connection. I don't even know why. But yeah. Okay, it all makes sense. Oh, actually, I gotta write down the code. Okay, so I do understand the whole code now. Nice. This is what I love about doing this stuff. Like, now I understand everything. This is why I think it's important to do this kind of stuff. Like, even though it's boring as fuck, it's really important to do, and it makes it more fun when you understand everything, right? So it's under dot then data block after you set country equals data. So it should be right here. First, we will create create element to show name and flag, and then we do name element equals document dot create element dot h2. Why is that red now? Document create element. Wait, what? Wait, I already wait. This is the wrong code. This is the code I already did. My bad. This is the code we're doing. Okay, my bad. This is the code. Let current index, but outside the show country function. So it should be here, I'm guessing, or here. Here it should be. No, I mean I can just find the let current index 0 here. Const next button equals document create element button. I can also do that here. I think I can just do everything above this function, right? Just the order of you want the click thing before. I'm kind of confused why we should have this though. Like, isn't this basically just let me think. So this outputs the data based on the index of the JSON array. So this function just continues into the next flag before this does the same thing again. Okay, so it does make sense. It does make sense now. Let's actually do create a button and font next button equals, that's in camel case. I need to remember all the different ways of it's super important, but it's nice to remember. Oops, create element then what happened there? I don't even know what happened there. I think I somehow made this under button. Fine. Next, and then we check content equals next country. Add the button to the page. Document body doc and child. Next button. Container. So you append it into the HTML code and then add the listener to the button. So it's a function basically. Yeah. Add then another count case. Based on each click of the button, you do this code, or you run this function rather, which is increasing the current index before it wraps around to the first object. Does make a lot of sense because now I fully understand, which is really nice. Current index equals current index plus 1. Countries dot length. So yeah, this is actually the number of objects in the JSON file code in the JSON array, which is, let's say, 200 for simplification. So you can never put the length of into the number of index, which would be 0 and then all the way up to 200. But as soon as the length equals the index, it will be 1, which equals to 0. So the current index would then equals to 0, which would be the first country. So now this all makes a lot of sense to me. Let's do show the new country, and then we do show country, and we basically just call the function, right? And it's funny that it calls for this country with a new variable when here it doesn't do that. So I'm kind of confused as to why we're calling the function here still. And I can think that this might cause an error. No, because you call for the function with the current index and then it calls for the function with the 0 index. So I'm just trying to figure out why that is still in. Or is it just a bug? Okay, I understand. Now let's move on to the next step. However, before that, do I not need to remove the show country 0 that I added on the earlier steps? Nope, you actually keep from earlier. His why purpose when the page first loads. Oh, that's true. Before this, sorry, before you press the button, it needs to show a country which is index 0. Yeah, by calling it start, the country has first load. Technically current index plus 1. To don't conflict, the initial one just gets the starting point. Yeah, because this function don't include this call. So this call is actually only initialized as soon as the page starts before you click the button, and then it never gets initialized again, which is why it doesn't matter for it to be there. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, makes sense. Let's move on. All right, let's add the previous country button so you can cycle backwards too. Interesting. We'll build it just like the next button, but adjust the map. I'm actually going to try to do this without looking at ChatGPT. Let's actually try. Why is... Actually, I should actually test the code when I think about it. I don't know why I didn't think about that before now. But 1x. I've completely forgot to try the actual code, right? So let's go on to the HTML and let's open live server. Next country does not work. Let's open the console here. Uncheck runtime. The message report closed before response was received. Uncut reference code. Current index is not defined. So it, for some reason, don't get the current index. I don't know why. Let's see. Let's try to do this without ChatGPT. I always want to try before ChatGPT. So again, reference error is current in the... Oh, so see, this is a spelling error. And where is this? Is that 37? Yeah, right here, right? Now it should work. I'm so fucking good. I can already read the fucking error code. So this is really nice. Let's move on now. So again, what was the thing? Create... Yeah, backwards. I want to try to do this without using ChatGPT. Let's see if I've learned enough to do that. So how do I do that? We already have the countries array defined, so I don't need to do that. We already have the function for the data to get shown defined. By the way, I can move on here. Player submit. Yes, so this is where we're at right now. But before I want to do that, again, I want to simplify this to be a bit better. Before starting the more challenging stuff. Then there are the country, right? So where zero, create a button, and I want to basically create a new button, right? So let's write a code here, const. Let's do previous button equals document dot create element, because we're creating an element again, right? We're doing the exact same thing. And then we are also adding a name to the button, which is next button dot text content equals previous country. Make it all nice and clear. And we need to append that to the actual HTML code again. So we use the document body dot append child, which is then calling the previous button. It's not calling it. That's the incorrect word. It is using it. It's calling the correct word. I don't know how to communicate what it does here actually. Not that it's very important, but basically it's taking the previous button, which is the button we just made or defined, and it's appending it to the actual HTML code and to our web page. And then it's making this function, which is really cool, which is, I'm going to call it previous button. Wait, that's actually what it's called already. I already made that. But I'm doing a add event listener, which on each click, it's doing with the syntax here, is calling for this function, which makes the current index equal to current index, and instead of +1, it goes -1, right? Because you want to go backwards. And I'm not sure how this will work at the start. Like, I'm already imagining it's gonna be an error when it starts, right? Because, or it might not just work, but it should work. Because if you have the index 0, right, which is the first country object, if you do -1, then then it's going to be -1, and there's no index that's -1. So I think the modulo thingy here isn't going to work the same way it worked before. However, I'm going to try to imagine it to see if it actually works. So let's say it's 0, and then you press the button for previous one. It goes -1, and then modulo the country length. The country length can still not be put into -1 a single time. So yeah, it shouldn't be put back. So you can't actually use modulo here. So this is actually the part of the code that I don't actually get. Let's actually try it just because it might work. Even though I don't understand it, it's possible it's actually gonna work, but I just don't understand why. And then we can try to understand it after instead, right? So everything here should work except for this, I'm assuming. And it should also, by the way, it should work until it's at the first object. So it actually does that, and it gives an explanation. Before it does that, I want to try this code. So let's see if it works. Ooh, the button is really small for some reason. So I don't know why that is. I appended it completely similar. Let's just try. Oh wait, this is the actual button. This is the next button. No, this, wait. Why is the previous button now? Oh, it's because, yeah, it's because of the order of operation. So actually, I think I've declared button to be the same thing here. So I created an element which is button for both the previous. So I want to say, instead of saying button here, wait, I should, wait, this is, wait, that's not the problem, is it? Because this is just how you make a button. You define the button name of the button. So this is actually not the thing that's fucking this up. The previous country is going through all the countries, and this is going backwards. So this should be the previous one. This should be the first one. I don't know why it's not working though. Can I figure this out on my own? I don't know if I can. I'm not sure why this is happening. Because when you click, oh, is it because of this thing? No, right? Because previous button and then this happens. So why is that not the case here? Because this is for some reason this code, and this is for some reason this code. I don't know why it swapped them. So weird. Current index equal. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so and see, it did get by the way, when I'm pressing the previous thingy, it does actually get a um error code. It actually got multiple error codes. Show country at version 1 JS 71. What? 71? Is this what's happening? This is what is messing up the thingy. The index function here, which is used nowhere else. Not function, sorry, the index. What am I trying to say here? Parameter. Okay, I'm not gonna figure this out. I don't know why this is happening, so I'm gonna look at the chat GPT thingy now. Below where you create the next button. So I did. This I did. This I did. This I also did. Obviously, I named it differently. I named it completely as a previous, not just prev. But I did this as well. This I did. This I did. Wait, I did everything. I did it, but it's not working. Why? Is it because of this thing here? Yeah, that's why. No, this is. No, it's not. This is this, right? Yeah. It's not the. Because this is just for the function. This is right after. Wait. Oh, here it is actually. Country's length. So it's using a different formula. So it was a different formula. Plus country's length. Current index minus 1 plus country's length. So if you're at, let's say, index 4, which would be country 5, the fifth object, it will be the fifth object minus 1, which is the previous one. So it will be the fourth object, plus the country length. So let's say it's 200, it will be 204. And then when you, the modulo is the length, it will be 204 modulo 200, and the rest is 4. So the index will be 4. That does make sense to me. In fact, it makes a lot of sense. But why can't you do that without this, though? You're at index 5, you say minus 1, it's 4, modulo country length, which is 200. You can't do it a single time, so the remainder is still, with that piece of code, 4. So I'm guessing this is because of the fact that you're going backwards, and then as I mentioned, the problem where if you're at the first object, when you try to go backwards, it won't work because you're already at the end, right? So you get a negative number. So if you're at index 0 and you do minus 1, you get minus 1, which you can't do with modulo. It doesn't work with modulo. In that case, it will be plus 200, it will be 99, and then the 99 modulo 100 would be 1 as the reminder. So it would be the same index that we're trying to do, which doesn't make sense either. Right? The reminder is still 1. You go from 0, you try to press the previous button, it becomes 1. That's the output. So I'm guessing, so in my head, what should happen if you're at the first object and you're pressing previous, it should go 1 forwards. And then when you press it again, it should go 1 backwards. So it should just go back and forth. That's what I'm visualizing, but I don't know if that's actually the case. First of all, let's try to just implement this here before actually reading what is happening. Oops, length, can't write, I can't write again, length. Here, let's try the code. Again, it's doing this weird thingy here. Let's try this, that doesn't work. Previous country, that doesn't work. So nothing works now for some reason. Oops, that's the wrong window. Here, not previous, not this code. Length. Did I write it wrong? I didn't write it wrong, right? Oh yeah, I did write it wrong actually. Here we go. Previous, it goes forwards, and then the one. What? It does work. I have no idea why. So it actually does go all the way back to the last country when I press previous. Keep in mind, this is now for some reason as a bug, the next button, and this is the previous button. But for some reason they switched. I have no idea why they switched. But before we fix that, let's see what this explanation moves us back to back one position. Adding country to length shows that the number stays positive since JavaScript markup can give a negative result where first number is negative. Yeah, that's the problem I was thinking of. Past index 0. So it does loops us around. But how does it make sense though? Like I can't seem to understand why it makes sense. If you are at index 0, you go -1 plus 100, that's 99. So 99 modulo 100 should be 1. But for some reason, it's 200. Wait, why am I thinking 100? Wait, I just thought it was wrong. It's 99 modulo 200. And 99 modulo 200 should be 101, right? No, it should be... Wait, I'm confused. I'm so confused. No, it's not 99. Oh my god, I'm just thinking about so many things. You have index 0, you go back 1, minus 1, plus country legs, which is 200. That is 199. And then 199 modulo 200 should be 199. Right, right? So it should be the second last one. Should it not be the second last one? Or should it be the last one? Because if you have 200 modulo 200, you get 0. So you start at the front. Okay. So it's the last one before this code gives the first object back. So you can never get to the last object. Let's see in our... I want to see what country in the JSON is the last object. Is this Zimbabwe? It is Zimbabwe. Huh. It is correct. Like the code works, except for the swap thingy. But why? Current index, you're at index 0, minus 1, plus 200, that's 199. And here as well, if you're at 199 and you press plus 1, you get 200 modulo 200, which is 0. So it goes back to the first one. So the way I'm envisioning it, it should never reach the 200, because when it does, it goes back. I don't get it. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT this. I don't think I can figure this out on my own. If you want both buttons side by side, you can wrap them in a div and style them, but for now they'll just appear one under another. First low country 0 shows, click next country, goes forward, click. I have a couple questions. First of all, the buttons on the page. Maybe it is because I added this here. So let's remove this and let's see what happens. Nope, it's still swapped for some reason. Buttons on the page are swapped. So the button for next country is named previous, and the button for previous countries is named is next button. However, it's smaller and doesn't actually show a name on the website. 7x. The labels don't match the button. This should have some of the append child, or just not what you expected, or if we mixed up which variable got which text content. One button is small and has no text. This happens if text content isn't set correctly before the button is added to the page. It's how your button should be created. Prev button, next button. So that you just switch the order, but that shouldn't make a difference. What? I mean, I can swap the order, but I don't see how it would be different. I have the functions of the click after each. Okay, I'm just gonna send it my code. This is my code for this. Finding naming makes it in code. Constant previous button, document button. You're changing the text of next button instead of previous button. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You're changing it. So I guess this is actually a saved variable name and not just a like thing that makes a button. That's where next button is suddenly saying previous country and your previous button. Change that one line so you're setting the text for the correct button. Huh? What? How is this different? Contact button, document creator button. This is the same. Next button, text content. The same. Next button, append child. That's the exact same. Next button, add event listener. Same. Current index. Show country index. Current index. That's the same. This is still the same. And here, previous button, document create element. Same. Previous button, text content. Oh, this is where I'm. Oh my fucking god, bro. Oh, so every time. So this again, this is. I should have figured this out, man. This is how you. This is the text of each button, right? That's the text content of the button, and I redefined the first one to this. So now, whoops, what did I just do? Now it should not work. What did I just do? Yes, it works. Nice. Next country, next country, next country, previous country, previous country, previous country. And then it goes back to Zimbabwe. Okay, so now that is fixed. Okay, now that it's fixed, explain the code for when page is on index 0 and you try to press the previous button. In my head, that means that 0 minus 1 equals -1 plus 200. Let's say that's the amount of objects in the array. JSON array equals, and maybe that's what's wrong, my understanding of what it actually is, like the dot length thingy, but that's what I thought it was, at least. Also it should say plus here, plus 200 equals 199, which means it's going to the 199th object, which is not the last one. Same thing happens on the next button when 199 plus 1 equals 200, which means it goes back to index 0. What do I not understand? Or what do I understand incorrect? Almost everything collected. The math you're doing in your head is right, but the part you're unsure about is exactly why it works. Let's break both cases down step by step so it clicks. Current. Okay, this is the previous button. current is country's length is 200. Current index, so this is my understanding of that was correct. Current index minus 1 equals 0 minus 1. This is correct. Yeah, so all this is what I thought. And then 199, since 109 plus 200, the modulator leaves it unchanged. 100. This is also what I understand, visualized. And then current index 109, which is the last object in the array, because array are 0 index. Oh my god, of course, the index 199 is the 200th object. Okay, I understand. Okay, I understand. Understand everything. Let's move on to the next step. This video is gonna be really long, but I'm just gonna do it until I feel like I'm bored or until I feel like I'm really, really tired. Because I enjoy doing this. Like I enjoy learning this stuff. I want to learn this stuff, and I feel it's very fun when I actually understand what's going on. Show country right now. You probably have something like function show country dot country index. The function is here. Yeah. We'll make it more dynamic. So what are we doing again? Oh, so we're making more dynamic. We'll make more country index. So again, we define that over. No, that's the index. We didn't define the countries. The countries is just equals data, which is the data that the fetch function gives up, or the fetch. What do you even call it? It's not a function. The fetch thingy. The fetch thingy. Country equals country. Oh wait, it is actually defined. My bad. So here, instead of going instantly to name element, text content equals country name, which means that the text country inside of the name element, which we create here, equals the name of the country that is in our current object. It makes a variable that name element equals document get element by ID. Okay, let's understand this. Oops, what did I just do? So again, we have defined this already. Let name element document get element by the country name. We already did that. No way, we didn't. Wait, what? Country. Let name element. The name element is already defined here. Get element by ID, country name. That's not our ID though. Maybe it doesn't know the ID of the JSON file. This is the idea for the country, right? So this should maybe be name. Maybe that's what it doesn't know. Name, and then if expression mark. That's what it's called, right? Expression mark. Name element. I don't know what that means. That's some sort of function thingy. So if name element, I mean, I guess that means if there's no name element. Or what? If exclamation mark is what it's called. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark, I'm pretty sure it's called. Name element. Element by ID. So I'm pretty sure the ID is just wrong, and this is like just redefine, like it's defining what we already defined over here whenever this happens. So, or no, I don't actually know what that means. I gotta keep in mind. Name element of ID, which is same thing here. The ID of the element, which is the country name. I'm kind of confused. Doesn't this do like the exact same thing as this? I mean, you couldn't do this without actually defining what name element is, though. And also, I don't understand what this actually means. Because if this is a key, it should be name, document body, append child. So here it's making it's calling or returning the name element into the HTML document. Name element of text content equals country name, assuming JSON key is name. Okay, so it is assuming the JSON key is name, but I don't know what this means then, country name, because this is a string, so the name element is a string. Okay. Before I continue with that, check the element exists for H2 and update the existing element instead of replacing with a whole DOM or DOM for rest memory ways. I'm just gonna ask before I write that code, do I need to remove this code I have already? You don't have to leave it, but you'll just adjust it so it fits into the new approach. Right now, your code is creating history outside. Yeah, always creating. The new version is suggested is only if they don't already exist, which means if you already create them once at the start, like your code does now, you can just reuse them and skip that create if not exist logic. Create if not exist logic. Okay. I'm guessing that's the logic. Wait, I'm not sure if I understand actually. Create or select name element. The name element equals to the string here. But I don't understand why it's by ID though. You need to more deeply explain the new codes. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that. Let's see if it can explain it better. Actually, let me break down update show country code deeply step by step so you can exactly what each part is doing. Each time you want to show a country, when a page loads or when the user clicks next previous, you want to show the country name on the page, correct? Show the flag image on the page, correct? And previously we already defined this, so that happened. Function show country index. Yeah, this is what we did, right? What? Why did it change it to this thingy? That's not what we have had. I'm guessing it does the same thing. I know that this means that whatever the country name is, it puts in there and then it makes a string kind of like it's a string with flag at the end. So it looks like it's the same thing here. I'm wondering why it changes to this though. Like why do you need this interact? I guess it's because it's inside the string. Yeah, it's because it's inside the string. So for some reason, they want to stringify the whole thing. Const country, countries of index, countries if you're already loaded from JSON. Index tells you which country you want to show. This line grabs the whole country object at that position. Oof, I'm getting real tired. I need to start focusing. Okay, I need to start focusing more. First you define a country and it equals the the country of whatever index we're on. So let's just say it's the first one, which is Taliban, if I recall correctly. Countries is the array. Yeah, indexes tell you what to show. This line grabs the whole. Yeah, makes sense. If index equals 5, it gets text country of the array. Makes sense. Name element text country, country name. Name element is the h2 element that you created earlier. So name.element is this thingy here, which is an h2 element. So it's saying in that h2 element, the text content has to be whatever the name of the current object is, of the country of the current object is, right? So that also makes sense. Name element is the h2 element. Text content is property that sets or gets the text inside of an element. Also makes sense. So this line replaces whatever text is currently inside h2 with the country's name. Makes sense. So all this makes sense so far. So I understand the basic structure. Image element, history attribute. That makes sense. The key is the correct key. That makes sense. This text shows if the image can't load. Makes sense. Use temperature book country name with the word flag dynamically. So yeah, I don't know why it would do that. Like, why does he want it more dynamically? I don't know why. You only create the elements once, so you're not cluttering the page with duplicates every time you switch countries. Right, it's not a function that is recalling elements. It doesn't make new elements. You simply change the contents of those elements to reflect the current country. Yeah. Yeah, that's why they're made outside of the function, right? This is efficient and keeps the DOM clean. By the way, I don't really know what this is, DOM, but I don't think it's that important to understand. It also avoids flicker and flashing effects when switching. Right, because when you update something, it like flickers back and forth because it gives you a new thingy. Like, you delete the previous one and you update it and gets a new one, right? On page load, you call show country 0 to show the first country. When you click next or previous, you update the current index and call show country index again. This certain country just updates the displayed info because the element exists. Yes, this basic structure is easy to understand. But the new code you made was harder to interpret. Got it. The newer version of element creates show country can feel more complex at first, so let me walk you through that version step by step. Blah blah blah. Dude, finding this again, let name element, right? Try to find the name element on the page. Name element on the page? What? Sorry. Again, this is a string. I don't understand what this does. I don't understand this. As before, you pull the current country from your JSON array. This is blah blah blah. We're asking the browser, hey, do you already have an element with the ID country name? Because that's not defined here, though. It's defined here. Or it's not defined, but it's what's called or returned. Return this value. So it's asking get element by ID. We're asking the browser, hey, do you already have an element with the ID country name, which is this? So it's asking, sorry, this right here. No, it's not. It's a string. What? The string. It's not a. I don't get it. We're asking if yes, we grab it and update it. Oh, so it's not created now. That's why I don't understand where it's from. Okay, so you actually create one at first if there's not a name element that has the country name as an ID. Okay, then I'm understanding this. If exclamation mark name elements and then whatever's inside this thingy right here. What do you call this, by the way? Let me just search that up so I can. It's a bracket. Is it just a bracket? Is it just a normal bracket? Curly brackets. So this is I'm guessing this is curly brackets and then this is square brackets and yeah, okay. Curly brackets makes sense. Means if element is not found. That's what I thought as well, because I remember this is meaning no. Like you can say exclamation mark 0, that means it's not the same, right? So I'm guessing I guess that it would mean not name elements. Name element is not found. The thing that's confusing here is that I'm using name element already. So the name element is defined, but I'm guessing it's just not created on the page. So if the name heading isn't on the page yet, the name heading is not page yet, we create it with a document create element h2, which I'm guessing is inside that if statement. Document create element h2. What? Create element is not inside though. Why? Yeah. Assign it the ID country name, so next time we can find it easily. Add it to the page with append child. If name element is not found, okay. When it's defining the name element, right? If this doesn't exist, because this is calling like whatever this is on the page, get element by idea. So if there's no element with this ID, it would be a null. A null here. It wouldn't be a string or a integer or a boolean. It would be a null, right? So let name element to be null. So if this is null, right? Like if this isn't something, which means it's null, which it says here actually, then you create element h2. That I don't understand though, because you document create element h2 at the start. Like you do that anyway, but that's called by this name element. So here it should be name element, but there's not. Oh wait, I just didn't skip. Okay, so it is actually. Okay, I just didn't see this. I'm stupid. So it does actually, it is inside the if statement. Name element equals document create element. So okay, then it makes sense. Again, it makes a lot more sense then. If there isn't a name element with this ID, it creates one with this line here, and the same goes for name element ID will then be the country name. So it creates an h2 element. That's what this line does, and this line gives that element the ID of country name, right? But for now, this is not actually on the page. For now, by these two lines, it's just in the air or in the DOM or whatever it's called. And then this actually appends that data into the HTML code here. Okay, makes sense. Everything makes sense so far. Update the text content to the current country's name. Name element text content equals country's name. So now here you didn't actually give it a name, you just gave it an element, and the ID is country name, but there's actually no text inside of that element. So that's what we do here. You give it text, and the text is country.name, which is whatever name is for the country, for whatever object you're in, right? So let's say we're at the index 0. Again, that would be Taliban. No, it wouldn't be. It would be... I don't remember. Let's say Taliban. I don't remember what the actual one would be. Then it would say that the element, the H2 element with this ID would have the string Taliban inside of it. So everything here makes sense. So here, find a flag, try to find the flag image, try to find the name elements, try to find... So here, just the same, just put the image. Okay, makes sense. So let flag element equals document by ID country flag. So flag element equals this. I'm still a bit confused of how you can define it twice. It's still a bit airy for me. It's not completely understood by me. Because you can't, like, it's a constant, right? You can't change whatever it is. So here you're doing that, but yeah, it's a bit weird for me. Flag element equals document get element by ID. So it's doing the same thing. It's checking if there's an element with the ID of country flag. If not, then this will be null, right? So if there isn't, which means this is null, the flag element would equal to document create element. So it's creating the element, the image element, just like it created the H2 element. It gives it an ID, which would be country flag, which is what it's looking for at the first place. And it's appending it to the HTML code, right? So it's sending the flag element, which we defined here, to the actual HTML code, which is on the browser, which is communicated to the browser. Flag element.src country.flag. It's doing the same thing that we did here, no? Yeah. So by the end of this lines and this lines, it's created an element, given it an ID, given it a string inside, but it hasn't given it a value. Like, it hasn't given it an actual value. No data from the JSON file is given to that element. So that's why we need to do this, because the flag element.src, which would be the source to the flag element, will be the name of the country again, and the flag element.alt, which is like what will be shown if something wrong happens, you don't actually have a name, or yeah, maybe the JSON file has an object without a name in it. Then instead of the name, then you will just get the flag, right? The country name of flag. So, and it will just say probably like undefined, right? Probably will just say undefined right here. Undefined flag. Whew. Okay, this one was the hardest one to understand so far. It wasn't really hard to understand, but it was it just took me some time, because I still think it's a bit airy for me, just because you've already created these elements here. That's why I'm kind of confused about this whole thing. Like, why do you need to create something and check if it's created if you already created here? Because you have already created an H2 document, you just haven't given it an ID. Like this, you've already done. It just doesn't have the ID. Like, how can you use the same? I don't understand how we can use the same. Like, if this was a different name, it would make sense for me, right? But because that's the same name, it doesn't actually make sense for me. But let's try to write the code. So again, let name element equals document.get element by ID. Country name. If name element, so if it's equals to null, it means it doesn't exist. Then name element equals document dot create element, and then h2. And then name element dot id equals country name. Okay. And document dot body dot append child would be name element. Correct. All right. So that's the first one done. That's for the ID of the name, and then you will have the ID for the flag, right? There's some space here to make it more clean. Oh yeah, you also have to actually give the text inside, right? Because it doesn't actually have any text inside. I'm not sure why this is outside. Oops. Name element. Like, I guess it doesn't need to be outside. Oh, wait, I do actually know why. It's because you don't want that flickering effect, right? That's what it said earlier. So if this was inside the function, then every time this function ran, then the country name would flicker. But doesn't it need to be inside though? Because every time... Let me think about this for a second. Why is it outside? Because when you get a new... Oh, no. Okay, so every time this doesn't run unless there is no name element. So every time you get to a new page and there's a name element there, you assign the name element the country name. Oh wait, it's all inside a function. I'm stupid. Okay, so every time the function runs, okay, then it makes sense actually. I was thinking like this was the function that calls it, but it's actually the whole thing. So whenever the function runs, the name element will update its name because it's a new object, right? So you press previous or next, this function starts and gives whatever text elements on the page the new name, because the text element will always be on the page. Is that what I'm understanding here, right? Because you've made, yeah, the text element is already there. Right. I think I understand. I think I'm still hanging on like 100%. It does feel a bit airy for me now. I think it's soon time to actually stop and take a break, just so I can like actually process all of these things I've learned, because I feel like I've learned a good amount already. Country flag. Find out if the flag element equal flag element equals document create element, then image, and then flag element dot id country flag, right? And then we need to append it into the HTML body child, and then flag element, and it's done. And now we just need to, this is still inside the function. Yeah, it's still inside the function. We just need to do this. So in my head, this should already work, but for some reason it changed the flag element alt, which stands for alternative, to this type of code, but I think it should still work now. So let's try it. What? Why is the name under? Is it because the um because the code is under the actual uh, this runs, which is the function here for the current index. So it would be whatever index we're on. And then the elements get created, gets uploaded. I don't. That's probably not the word. Like it gets returned to the HTML code here, gets appended, and then this function is not called. So it's called here. So this is after the function is called, right? That's why the h2 is under the flags and stuff. It's because it's below, because the code starts above and then goes down. So first it calls the function and then the h2 element is created. Doesn't make sense. Does it make sense? Let's see what's above here. Yeah, and this fetch thingy, like all these functions and stuff are all inside the actual fetch. That's why you're able to use the data from the JSON file, right? I'm gonna delete these functions I already made just because like there's no point in having them. I feel like I'm just gonna refresh just in case. Yeah, it starts from the beginning because that and yeah, it's also have like I need to change, like obviously it looks horribly, but that's kind of the point here. We're gonna try to make it as simple as possible before actually making it look better and so on and so forth, right? But again, I want to completely understand why it's under, and I think just because the function that is uh, creating or just showing the text, the name elements, and the uh, wait, why is this twice? Did I do this correctly? I can remove this, right? Yeah, it's not here. Okay, but I don't need that. And the flag element. So we have the name element and the flag element. It just looked a bit weird because these were next to each other. When this were alone. So again, it yeah. So I was correct. It's calling the function before it is creating the h2 and image elements. Um, but again, I don't really understand still because it needs the name element declaration here, but at the same time it doesn't need it because it makes one in here. Oh, now I see why it's not actually what's it called uh, interfering with each other. It's because the let function here, even though it looks like it's under the constant function, it's actually above it because the function is called before the const. So this uh, declaration or whatever you call it, this variable or whatever you call it, is actually created before the constant of that variable is created. Okay. Yeah. And that's why you need them, right? or not? Like, why do you need them? Why do we need the cons of the name element, flag element? Let's ask it. We need a reference. Uh, we need reference to the element to update it. When you do document get element by ID country name, it returns a reference, a pointer to that element in the page. Okay. But that is done before you've declared anything, though. When we create a new element with document create element, we get a reference to the newly created element. Okay. Whatever that means. We store this reference in a variable named element so we can update it later on in the function. For example, without this reference, we couldn't write name element.country name equals country name. What did I just do? Name element text content. That's here. Because we need to know which element to update. Right, but again, you'd already declared it here. No, because it doesn't exist. Like, it doesn't exist at this point, because again, it's the function is called before it's declared anything. So name element, if I do this, is it above here somewhere? It's not, right? Like, it's not declared or defined anywhere here. So how does that work? How does that work then? It works because every time you run the code, this function goes first. It checks if there's a name element. There isn't. This if thingy then runs, creates one, then this can work. And then after it's done all those things, it creates it again. And again, I don't understand why it needs to create it again, like a new. Why does it need that? Do that? I just realized I've written this wrong and it still works. And it doesn't work when I fix it. What? When I fixed this, it didn't work. Why does it work when it's wrong? So weird. This is so weird. I'm now I'm just more confused. Why is the const needed? Oh, this is a great point. You're noticing that in your code, the function is going to rest before constant whereas the function instead of functions overruns this part. Yeah, which creates the element every time because the element doesn't exist at that moment. What you're describing is a scope and timing issue. The const name element and const flag element you mentioned are outside the function. If they're declared after calling the const name element and const flag element you mentioned are outside the function. If they're declared after calling, they don't exist when the function runs. Inside show country, you are declaring new local variables, yep, which shadow any outer variables with the same name. This means the outer constants are ignored inside the function because the elements don't exist yet on the page. The element returns no, so the function creates new elements. So why the const needed? So this is everything I just described, right? So why is const needed? If you declared const name element and const flag element outside the function before the first call to show country and create those elements once, then inside show country you should not redeclare new let element and let flag element. Instead, you use those constant directly to update the content. The const declarations are needed if you want to create the elements once and reuse them. Avoiding recreating DOM elements multiple times. What? I didn't even think this was possible. Like I literally thought if you use the const, then you couldn't redefine something. But it says here that you can. But I'm guessing you can't if you redefine it to a different kind of thing. Because you're not really redefining it. Like you're just adding on to it, right? You're not redefining it. You're like adding code, and since it, like, I don't know how to explain this actually. Like it checks if there's an ID added onto this this variable or this element. That's kind of like the definition. Like it defines the element as a idea to check if there is an idea. But yeah, it's a bit weird. The const declarations are needed if you want to create the elements once and reuse them, avoiding recreating DOM elements multiple times. Create elements outside ones. No need to create or get elements outside show country anymore. Yeah, as long as this is called after, right? But if you want show country to be self-contained and create elements on the fly if needed, then you do this. What? Now it's suddenly inside. It took... No, it's already inside. But here it's not. Yeah, this is so weird. const declares outside the function are only needed if you create elements once and want to reuse those references everywhere. To be standalone and work anytime is a get or create those elements inside the function, and then you do not declare the const outside. I'm just gonna copy my whole code. This is my code. What should I do? You have two conflicting ways of handling the elements, name element, and flag element. Okay, so it was actually a... So it was actually a mistake. Okay, so my confusion is actually from a mistake. That's very nice to know then. Then inside structure, you again try to find or create them dynamically. That causes confusion and redundancy. Let's pick one method either. Method 1, create elements once outside and update inside struct country. Changes when creating elements outside, giving them IDs so you can find them needed. Don't redeclare name element inside struct country, just update your content instead. I don't want to do that. I want to do method 2, handle creating elements if missing. If you want to keep element creation inside struct country, remove the element creation outside the function, keep the inside code that tries to find the creates animation. That's fine. Also, a small typo fix in your code, flag element should be. Yeah, so this is the bug that I found, but I didn't actually know where it was. Oh, it's this part. Okay, so it should be over here. Yeah, right here. Oops. Oh my god, I'm trying to use this on here. Boom. Now, if I just delete this, oops, this, save, here, boom, 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 everything working fine. Nice. Okay, so I was right. I didn't need it, bro. I'm fucking telling you, I'm the fucking goat of coding, dude. I knew I fucking didn't need that shit, bro. Yeah, that's great. Okay, it's now 12 a.m. 5 over 12 a.m. I think this is about it. I think I will end it here. I've been recording for about 2 hours and 18 minutes. So, and I think I've learned a lot. Like, I think I just need now to take a big break or a small break and come back to the code afterwards when I've processed everything. I think that's the best way of learning this coding stuff. But I'm very happy so far. Again, I understand literally everything. The only thing which I don't really understand is the fetch function thing. But that is like not really needed to understand because that's not actually the code. Like the only thing fetch does is give me data from JSON, and it's not actually really important to understand. I just need to use it before I can code this stuff. It's like a kind of like a default thing, if you may. So yeah, I'm really happy by this session, and I think if we keep going like this every day, I'll soon finish my project, which is a whole nice game. I really want to make this game, make it as complex as possible, and I think we made really good progress for like the first day ever doing this stuff. I mean, I'm completely new to coding, so this was really great. So yeah.